And again, folks, welcome to another video here from Cayman Hurricane Center. And yes, folks, we are now in 2025. We have, again, a number of things to discuss here. Before we do get into the meat of our video here, just a quick few notes here about the channel and some of the stuff we're doing. Again, we do have some additional stuff planned for this year, so it's not just our tropical update videos and so on coming up. We do have some other stuff that we do have planned to do this season, so do look out for that. And also another note here, folks, how we make our videos and the quality of our videos is going to be changing a bit here. We'll be working with a new program for our video creations, our video editing, video recording. So that will be changing this year. I think this video and maybe one or two other videos after this will be the last of this current program, and then we'll be switching to our next one. So do look out for that. Now, with that being said, we'll get down to the nitty-gritty of this video. And folks, for those of you who may not realize or don't know or may not remember that here at Cayman Hurricane Center, we actually do hurricane season forecasting as well. We've been doing it for a good number of years now. We've been coming up close to nearly 15 years or so now that we've been doing hurricane season forecast. And yet again, here we are in 2025 and with another hurricane season forecast. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty, the raw numbers of what we're expecting for this season. And here we go, our hurricane season forecast. We're expecting for an above average hurricane season yet again. And here are the numbers here. We're expecting 15 to 19 named storms. That also includes subtropical, tropical storms, 15 to 19. Out of those storms, 7 to 12 becoming hurricanes. And of those hurricanes, 3 to 6 of them potentially getting to major hurricane status. And again, another aspect of determining not only the numbers of the season, but sort of the quality of the season, is also looking at the accumulated cyclone energy index. It's another parameter that we look at for hurricane season forecast, and sort of determining not just the numbers, but the quality of the storms that we get. And we're projecting 110 to 210 ACE points. Now, comparing to the average, we consider the average as roughly 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, 3 major hurricanes, and roughly round about the ACE of 100 points. It's somewhere within the range of 95 to about 110. That's sort of considered as the average. So here we are. Let's look at the factors into what's leading to our forecast. So again, we're continuing this high activity era with this positive AMO or Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation here. We also note the very warm waters of the sea surface across the Atlantic. I want to note this though, folks, that although it is warm, it's not quite as warm as we had last year in 2024, which in all accounts was fairly record-breaking across the board there, and that broke. I think it was 2023 and 2022, sort of progressively getting warmer and warmer. This year, we're expecting it to be warm, but not quite as warm as it was last year. As a matter of fact, as we speak now, it is notably a little bit cooler than what we saw last year. Now, as we go further into the season, we do expect that the temperatures will warm. But again, we're not quite expecting 2024 levels of temperature. The other thing that we're looking at is a more active, a stronger, wetter, slightly further displaced to the north West African monsoon. This will enhance tropical waves coming off Africa, allowing them, sort of giving them the extra juice they need to kick off their storm development. We're also expecting with that some weaker, smaller, less dense Saharan dust plumes coming off of Africa this year. Part of this is, again, the West African monsoon wetting the deserts of the Sahara a bit, causing less of that dust being spread out into the atmosphere there. So we're looking at that. The other main thing that we're looking at is state of Enzo. Now, last year, late last year into early this year, we did end up getting into a weak La Nina, which had kind of tapered and weakened a bit back to an Enzo neutral for the late winter, spring period this year. Going forward through this year, we are looking at Enzo neutral for also the possibility of us potentially returning back into La Nina later on in the year. And we will make some note of that. And this will, again, the important note is the lack of an El Nino will help to, allow the activity in the Atlantic to move forward, or if anything, be enhanced, especially if we do end up with a La Nina developing later in the year. And with that, we also expect average to below average wind shear across the Atlantic basin. Of course, this will allow for the storms to develop and have a better chance of surviving, especially in the Western Caribbean, where we do tend to find our most concentrated areas of rapid intensification. That's something we're going to be looking at very closely for this year. Also noting that we're expecting a weaker than average trade winds across the Atlantic. And of course, that would allow for the waves a better chance of developing as it comes across. Again, with the favorable upper level environment, should allow for, again, these storms to kick off. So another thing that I do want to make mention here, talking about Enzo. Again, here are some of the Enzo forecasts here, and of course, looking at Enzo probability, fairly good probability that we'll be in Enzo neutral for the first half of the season. And there is a growing possibility here that we could be returning back into a La Nina threshold here as we go forwards. Again, this is progressively been going the last couple months. We're seeing that idea of La Nina returning, sort of slowly returning back into the forecast. So we're going to be watching that very closely. So looking overall, not just at our forecast, but overall for the season from many different agencies, just want to make mention of this here, folks, is other agencies that have put out their numbers. And as you can see, overall, again, the indication is for an above average hurricane season. You could go ahead and pause the video here if you want to have a more detailed look at all of these numbers here and to have a look at what we could be looking at by other agencies for this season. So a couple of quick notes before we do close off here, folks. Key things that I do want to make mention is that we need to be focusing on our precipitation, on our storm surge. Again, water still remains the biggest killer in hurricanes, and we do want to urge people to pay very much close attention to those risks. And also the other thing too that I particularly want to make mention of is, again, impacts from these storms extend outside of the forecast cone. So just because you may be just outside of the cone does not mean that you won't be impacted. A perfect example of this here, Hurricane Beryl we had last year, major hurricane running through the Caribbean. Although the cone has majority of it passing south of Jamaica, south of the Cayman Islands, very much Jamaica, the Cayman Islands were impacted quite decently, should we say, quite dramatically in Jamaica and very notably in the Cayman Islands. from this, again, despite being just outside the cone. So again, a reminder of that. Also, folks, last thing, it only takes one to make it a bad year for you. That's all.